This is a topic that was kind of brought up to me both by r/v virtual YouTubers. Shout out to the Reddit that I apparently still banned from, I guess. And also, really more importantly, the people that really got this to me was Twitter and people tagging me on Twitter, which often gets me into various news items. So we've got this Nexas Corporation. This is a new VTubing corporation. The first time I saw them was this, right? This is their Nexus First Wave debut fest. Mark your calendars. Don't miss a single debut. So April 26th. So that's, I think, now, I guess, at Any Live, 27th, 28th. So you've got these people. I mean, a lot of people coming out here and debuting for Nexus. Look at this. Clotho, Kyohei, Arix, Lulu, Sweet Hiroshi, Ravine, Odote, Nox, Kenzo, Leo Bell, Thaley, Nano, Amira, Pico, Alvin, Asila, Melody, Kiko, Poet, Soma, Lumoria, Bukure, Nel, Nyansume, Pion, Endra, and Noah, right? Noah being the easiest for me to say there. But yeah, this is a lot. Like, these guys are debuting like every 30 minutes. They're dropping a new talent here. Wow. And then I think from what somebody told me, I don't know whether Captain here is involved in this. I think he may be the Annie Live CEO. I think he may be at least interested or involved in that project. But that said, yeah, that's a lot. So I see him debuting there, coming out as a corporation, obviously starting up. And then what we're seeing here is we have their website. So they've got a website up. And they've got this here website, which originally I fucked up the thumbnail because I thought it was Nexus Project, which is a different thing, but it's actually a Nexus here. And you've got, their information here. We are Nexus. Your gateway to a radiant talent journey begins here. Forge bonds, harness your unique strength, embark on a transformative virtual talent career with Nexus. We are the academia for undiscovered talent. So there's this new generation. And then just about us from their For Creators guy, Harry here, who says, here at For Creators, we have a clear vision to evolve the world of virtual entertainment. We support creators of all kinds, fostering a community that is engaging and inspiring. Our goal is simple yet ambitious: to be a launch pad where passionate creators can find their spark and become stars of a new digital era. As the founder of For Creators, my aim is to create opportunities for creators to shine on a global stage. We're on this journey together to not just chase the future, but to craft it with our own hands. So they've got that. They've also got this angel round of funding that was completed in December. So that's something that they've gotten funding for, I believe. So if you look at their funding, and we'll be back to the website in a second, but if you look at their funding, they received funding here in December. So the seed funding was received through 7 investors, most of which are Japanese or appear to be Japanese, right? So I'm being really, really racist here. This is big racist mindset who is making the assumption that Yuzuru Honda, Yuichi Sojima, Takahiro Hayashi, Shun Ayu, Shinichiro Sada, and Kazuhide Hashida are all Japanese. I know. It's a big leap, guys. I know I'm such a bigot. I'm going to get canceled by the Niji sisters again. I'm somebody in Jakarta time zone is going to get me. I know, guys. So bad. So this is an important factor. Keep this in mind that most of the money they have is coming from Asia, or at least specifically probably Japan here. So yeah. So let's just keep that in mind, because that's going to answer one of our future questions. So one of the things that was brought up, and this is one of the questions that somebody had. This is from, I think, Linmar here on Twitter. Said, Andrew, Legal Mindset, have you seen this? Do you have any thoughts? The company is based in Singapore, and viewers have to download and install their proprietary app in order to watch their VTubers and buy some sort of tokens to super chat them. Is there any reason why a VTubing company with Japanese shareholders and an American CEO would be based in Singapore and not the US and Japan? This is a fantastic question, and there is indeed a very clear answer to this. So, for all those that may be curious, let me explain exactly why. And I say this as a person that not just has multiple corporations, but actually I almost set up a Singapore corporation. I don't have one yet, but I almost set one up. So I'm very familiar with Singapore corporations. And I do have several foreign corporations as well. I'm not going to tell anybody what they are or where they are, what countries they're in, but I do have several foreign corporations. So I can tell you right now why someone would incorporate in Singapore and why they would make an app to based on a proprietary app, because that is very, very related to why it's in Singapore. So let me explain a couple things about forming a corporation abroad. There's a lot of reasons you can form a corporation abroad. One of which might be if you want to live in that country. So if you're a person who wants to live in a country, let's say Japan, one of the ways you can live in Japan is to create a business there, be a business manager visa, right? So you might want to live in that country, like Korea or Japan or Philippines or Thailand or somewhere else. You might want to create a corporation to live there. But that's not what we have here. So that reason, let's throw out there. What's another reason? Taxes. Somebody said it in the, where is it? Who is it? Lanoche. I saw it right there. Taxes. Thank you very much. Taxes. So one of the biggest things about Singapore is they have a very, very, very favorable tax regime. There's two things about Singapore that are very good for taxes. Number one, Singapore does not tax foreign earned income. So let me say this one more time. Singapore does not tax foreign earned income. So there's, and this is, by the way, I'm not an accountant. This is not tax advice. This is just my observations, reading generally available data. So do your own research and confirm what I'm saying. So essentially, if you are a foreign corporation and you're trying to place money in a Singapore bank, they're not going to tax that. Right. So for example, if you earned your money in the US, you're a US corporation, but you're just trying to put your money in the Singapore bank, you're not living there, you don't really have permanent ties to Singapore, you're just putting it in Singapore, they're not going to tax that money. But if you are a Singapore corporation, the good thing is the taxes are lower. They're lower. They're generally about 17%, and that's a flat rate. So they're not going to graduate that as it goes up. It's generally a flat 17% tax rate if you're a Singapore corporation or if you're somebody living in Singapore. So the rates of taxes are lower, and that's much lower than Japan or Korea. Japan and Korea will tax you so much more if you are putting your money there. So these Japanese folks would prefer Singapore. Singapore is also a very, very comfortable banking destination for Asians. If you are in Asia, people in Asia are very comfortable banking in Singapore. It's like Switzerland for Asia. Think about it like Switzerland, but instead of like fondue, you've got chicken rice, Hainanese chicken rice. By the way, I fucking love chicken rice. If you guys haven't had Hainanese chicken rice, especially one of those like hawker stands, it's really good. Chicken rice is really amazing. I stand for chicken rice. But that said, that's a big advantage. It's a super big advantage that they trust that the laws in Singapore are really considered stable as well. Their court system is considered stable. People trust them. People know that Singapore has a politically stable government. In fact, they've had the same government in charge pretty much forever, but people like that. They want there to be stability. They don't want there to be crazy shit going on there. They don't want wild political swings in the place where they're banking. They want it to be 100% stable so they know that it's going to be safe, because every country around, especially in Asia, is kind of crazy. And look, I say that about every single country without any reserves, right? Whether it's Malaysia, whether it's Indonesia, whether it's the Philippines, whether it's Thailand, whether it's Vietnam, whether it's Laos, whether it's Japan, Korea, whatever. There's a lot more relative political ups and downs, changes between parties, instability than there is in Singapore, right? In terms of an overall like regime change. You're not going to get a wild swing in Singapore. That's just not the way things go. But the largest reason, and the reason why they're creating the app, is not taxes. It's not even stability. It's actually something else. And the reason why they're doing it there is this is one of the things that people may not know about Singapore, which is a very, very big deal, which is that Singapore is the top spot in Asia for intellectual property rights, right? So in terms of intellectual property, in terms of protecting intellectual property, they are very, very, very strong. So if they create an app and that IP is in Singapore, they can really, really strongly protect their IP. Their IP is able to be really, really well protected in Singapore. Because of that, and because they've got such a strict regime of enforcing intellectual property, what that tells me is they're going to really drop the hammer on anybody trying to come after their stuff, right? So they're going to be very, very, very protective of what they've got. Very protective. So that's the thing. And also following that up with litigation, right? So that the difference is, here's the difference. Japan has a lot of laws and a lot of craziness, but a lot of times what happens with Japan is this. Japan has these crazy laws, but they don't try to enforce them internationally. If you're going to Singapore, you're probably going to try to enforce those laws internationally. So this is what's probably going to go on with Singapore. So that is coming up there. This is where people are going to clip me, and this is going to get controversial, which I like. This is going to get really controversial here. There was a statement. Now, I don't know where this was made. I don't know where this was from. I actually haven't found the original source. Maybe if Gator pops on, he'll know the original source for this. I don't think it's on the website. I mean, it might be, but I have no fucking clue if it is. I haven't found it yet. So there's this statement about commitment. And I don't know if you guys saw this. Somebody keeps mentioning Watcher. Wait, hold on. What does people say? Watcher channel? The Watcher. Why is people mentioning Watcher? Anyways. Yeah. So what we've got here is this spicy statement. So let me put this here. Okay. So we've got support tailored to commitment. Oh, it's the fail platform. Okay, thank you guys. Watcher is the fail platform. Thank you, Michulati. Thank you for clarifying. Okay, cool. Yeah, that might be. I don't know whether that's related or not. But the thing is that once you create another platform, it's hard to start up a platform. Look at Rumble, look at Odyssey, look at all these other platforms. Like, it's very difficult to just start something up and have it work. Look at everything that tries to replace YouTube. Look at what tries to replace X. Nothing that has worked to replace Twitter, X, whatever. Like, they just don't work. People will say, "Oh yeah, I'm just going to replace it," and it won't work. It's like, nice try. It's really difficult to get the buy-in, to get the ads, to get everything else. So, yeah, that's difficult. Yeah, I think. Okay, hold on. I just saw a post here by. Let me share a post by Captain before we do the statement here. This is another post right here. So this is one I saw just now. Right. Hey folks, Annie Live is an app where you can suddenly feel rich. JK, new VTubing app. Enjoy Annie Live with bonus coins. So we are having an announcement. Everyone is joining the streams. So you've got the streams here. You've got 1,500 coins. You've got Nexus closed alpha anniversary. Cone bonus 10,000 coins. Everyone that's installed the AnyLive closed alpha app during these dates, are you ready to support your Oshi? So it's looking like there's some stuff going on here with the coins in this app. So yeah, that's sounding a little interesting. Now let's go further. But before we go further, what's up, Gator?
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, just good. Just saw you in the chat and thought you might be able to, if I make any misstatements, feel free to correct me here. But I was just looking at how AnyLive just had that, Captain just posted out that comment about the app, the AnyLive app, right? And using kind of the coin system. And I guess this is a platform where Nexus is also going to debut on this platform as well.
Yes.
So this seems interesting. Seems like it's an app where you buy coins in order to pay, which I guess is similar to Twitch Bits or any other platform where you might buy some sort of virtual currency and pay in a virtual currency.
And Necro and I have been watching the debuts because he has the app on his iPhone. I don't have an iPhone. I've got an Android. Sure. It seems very similar in nature to like TikTok. So you saw the TikTok streams where people could like spend real money to send like emojis or whatever. It's kind of the same sort of deal.
Stuff like that. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. It's very similar to that. The difference being that with AnyLive, it seems to be like a one-stop shop. So it not only streams, but it's also doing the model tracking, and it's doing it in such a way that it allows them, because that was kind of like the premise from when I was doing my research, that it seems like the idea is that you could stream from literally anywhere using the features of the iPhone that are built in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they don't have the Android app yet, because Android phones are all over the place in terms of the kinds of facial recognition software and tracking that they use.
Right. So the iPhone is the gold standard for face tracking right now.
Right.
So, right. Which makes sense. So yeah, and I don't know if you had any thoughts about Nexus in general. Obviously, I was responding earlier to this comment about the Singapore company, right, which has an American CEO. By the way, not weird to have somebody, just because your company is in one country doesn't mean your leadership can't come from another. Most multinational corporations will end up having a leadership that is very mixed in terms of where they're from and what countries they're from, particularly if your target audience is Americans. So if you're targeting a lot of English speakers, then having an American CEO might be really smart, right? Or if you're trying to expand in the EN market, right, that might be smart, right? Versus having Japanese shareholders, because the Japanese are the most bought in on VTubing. So it doesn't everything here makes sense to me if you understand what the objective for each was, right? Singapore, I think, is to mainly protect their IP. It's pretty good on taxes, well respected, good legal regime, right? Japanese shareholders because they're the ones simping for the Oshis, and then American CEO because you're expanding in EN. I don't know if that all makes sense to you, Gator.
It does. I'm not 100% sure if I think the CEO is American, because when I went to the Nexus website, he calls himself Harry, but his full name is Hiromitsu. So I believe
Harry is like what we call the Starbucks name in Asia. It's like the name they write on the Starbucks cup in America because they don't want to write Hiromitsu. He's just like, Harry this. It's
So, there's a lot of stuff on the website that makes me think that he may not be completely 100% fluent in English. There's some telltale signs of ESL on the website, and I suspect that a lot of the misconceptions are coming from that.
Yeah, and I think I do think that he may just end up being, I don't know whether he's actually the CEO or just one of the top angel investors. We don't really know, what this, the four creators, if you look them up. So let's pull this up real quick to show you. Sorry, Melissa Torres. I don't need you to help me with my fucking LinkedIn here. So let me show you because I haven't, I pulled this thing up on LinkedIn, and of course somebody's trying to get you to to buy something in like 2 seconds. Okay.
Of course.
So tell Melissa to F off. So here's 4 creators building My Hero Academia for the ENVTubers. Well, first of all, you should not be using like branded anime names in your slogan.
Right.
Like you should not be doing that.
Like I get the concept though. He wants to essentially build a sort of like a nest egg for VTubers to start out in, and then they move on to the main stage or whatever. I'll say this, that to me it sounded like he was trying to defend the company and the VTubers, because a lot of people, because like if you're a guy that actually cares about what you're doing, you know, you're going to be a very vocal defender of it.
Yeah,
and
you should be.
Versus somebody like Riku Tizumi, who's like never going to talk about like anything at all. He's just going to sit up there and just be like, "Oh, you should negligible."
Yes. It should be, you should be defending your talent. You should be defending your company. That's your job, right? If you're a CEO or even a chief investor, right? And I get that you're going to do that even sometimes to the point where you're going out on a limb for your company and for your talent, and you're being a little bit overzealous, but you can forgive somebody for that. Right.
And I think that's what it was. And I think he immediately realized his mistake in just arguing with haters, because that's like, you should never do that. You should never, because like there's constructive criticism, and then there's just like tarred criticism, and you just have to throw the
tweeters. Yeah.
Right. You just have to throw the like, because that's the thing. He was like not only arguing with people that were like trying to give constructive criticism, but he was also falling for like the easy bait. And it's like, come on, bro. You can't.
A lot of people do that on Twitter. I will say a lot, and it's really sad to see people do it. I've seen folks do it in Respawn where they shouldn't even. And like I even told Aviel of Idle when I was talking with him, like some of the things he responds to, I wouldn't respond to. I would just be like, yeah, I'm ignoring that. Right. But like, you know, sometimes the CEOs feel like they need to respond a little bit more than they should. And if they just click on the account and they see the fact is like the account has like 10, 20, 30 followers, it's like, yeah, you don't need to respond to this, because this is probably somebody who created a troll account, or maybe even 0 followers, right? Where they created a troll account just to talk shit and cause problems and stir shit. You don't need to respond to that. This is not some social media crisis because a bunch of 0 follow V-tweeters, you know, came out there and tried to stir drama, right? You can just kind of ignore that.
Right. And of course, you know, they're not only trying to bait posts, but they're trying to generate content for themselves too. And what happened? He goes out and he responds to all of them, and now that's going to be like what everybody talks about. And it unfortunately is going to distract from the debut of all of these VTubers. Exactly.
And it's going to take away from that. And so when we talk about stuff that's taking away from that, we get this. And let me show you the statement here, which is pretty interesting. Here it is. This is support tailored to commitment. And I'm just going to read the whole thing and then tell me what you think about this, Gator. Please understand that while we provide an environment for talents to autonomously utilize with sufficient support systems in place, individualized support for each person will be less. Consider the analogy of universities or high schools. Services aren't equal for all. More diligent students often receive more attention and support from teachers, while those that neglect their studies and attendance might not graduate. While equal opportunities for learning are provided, leveraging them depends on the student's initiative. Similarly, in Nexus, we actively support those who demonstrate a high level of engagement and ambition. If you want to call it as favoritism, it might be true in a sense, but please understand that we will do it more systematically. Specifically, we're establishing a system that rewards talents who achieve good results in various Nexus events and competitions. We aim to create a community where the competitive environment transparently benefits those who excel. So I want to hear what you think about this. I have some pretty controversial thoughts on this, but I want you to get your thoughts out there first.
It sounds to me like what they're doing is they're essentially setting like a benchmark for we want to see like how much time and effort you're willing to put into this. And the more time and effort that you're willing to put into this, the more like that they're going to push you, so that people that got into this maybe thinking that, you know, they're going to do the bare minimum will get the bare minimum of support. Like I don't know if I necessarily agree with the idea, because I've always been somebody I really like the idea of having more managers available, because I don't like seeing people have a dream and then the dream like fail on them and they get disillusioned.
Right.
That's really my only concern here. But it's like a gauntlet, right? Or a marathon. You know, everybody starts out at the same level, and then you see who's the best at running the marathon. That's kind of my take here.
It could be pay for performance. It could be something where, you know, look, the better people do better. And to be clear, I think it's good to incentivize people to do well. I think that
Agreed.
It's have an incentivized to work better, because if you have it, let me give you two different models. You're somebody who has a pure salary. You are paid the same no matter how well you do at your job or poorly you do at your job. As long as you don't get fired, you are paid the exact same amount. Versus another person who, if they reach certain milestones, certain quotas, is paid bonuses, is given incentives, is given certain benefits. That person who's got the incentives is clearly going to work harder each and every single time, versus the person who has a salary. The incentive is to work as little as possible. That's the whole quiet quitting, right? To do as minimum as you can do without being fired. Like the most you can get away with without getting fired is what you should do if you're working a salaried job where there's no incentives. You should do as little as possible, because there's no incentive to do any more than the least possible work that you need to do to not get fired, versus to do hard work. And obviously the thing is, in a social, so obviously the competition is one thing. The problem is they structured this in a really weird way. And the way they said it sounds bad. So now I'm walking it back a little bit. Like the way they needed to come out here and say this, they could have just said it more simply. This is kind of, to me, a fail of PR in saying, yes, there's going to be bonuses for milestones, but everybody gets the same level of support, right? There's a basic level of support. Everyone gets it, right? So everyone gets a basic level of support. And if you achieve certain milestones, we're going to incentivize you for that. We're going to pay you for that. And obviously the thing is, that's also how YouTube works, to be clear. YouTube incentivizes you to work hard and to create good content and create content the algorithm likes. If you don't do that, you are punished by the algorithm. You're punished by your fans if you're creating shit content. So YouTube is competitive, right? Because there's other things to watch. And if people, if my stream is on at the same time as another person's stream, you have to choose between the two. So there is always a level of competition, but I do think the way they worded this, I kept reading it and I'm like, I just feel like they didn't need to say it like this. And
that's what leads me to think that maybe this was translation. This was ESL, because I understood what they were trying to say, and I see where people get the misconception, but that was kind of my takeaway, that it's like, oh, well, there's obviously going to be like a base level of support, but if you're a really hard worker and, you know, you're putting a lot of time and effort into, you know, reaching out, building communities, you know, playing new games, trying new things, like they see that commitment, they'll put even more effort into you, because they're like, hey, this person gets it. They really care about what they're doing. Like a great example, Selene Totsky, like she was always on the ball. She's one of the hardest working women in all of VTubing. She was always trying to like create new art, new songs, new events. She's just like always pushing the envelope. Pomu's another great example. Pomu's very creative. She was always out there like trying new things, doing new stuff. People like those two excel in scenarios where they're...
And let's be clear how this is different than Niji, because I see all you guys in the chat earlier were saying, this is another Niji. Well, here's what was fucked up about Niji. Niji was not a meritocracy. Niji, because see, the thing is, Selene Totsky did objectively better than other people in that same corporation, but was not given adequate resources, support, management. She was not given the resource. She was winning awards for them, for that corporation, right? And they actively suppressed her. That is not a meritocracy.
She was winning awards and she was excluded from most of the merch.
Yeah, exactly. So what does that tell me? That's not a meritocracy. That's a clique, right? That's the favoritism, in my opinion. Favoritism is when it's not based on merit. If it's based on, okay, you are making more, you are winning awards, you get some benefits. Oh, Doki, you did this. You get to, you get to do a bunch of extra stuff. We're going to pay for extra stuff. We're going to pay for last cup of coffee without asking questions. We're just going to do that, right? Instead, they decided to target her and single her out and, put intense mental and emotional pressure on her, right? That's not merit. That's not what you would call merit. Not at all. So this is on their website, next website. What is Virtual Talent Academia? Right. So once again, I really think they need to not just copy My Hero Academia and, need to not do that. I think for a company that's incorporated in Singapore and cares about IP, they need to not be using other people's IP, because at this point they might be even viewed as a derivative product of My Hero Academia, and they could be sued by My Hero Academia if they're intentionally trying to confuse the branding by using academia and on their LinkedIn by putting My Hero Academia. They need to be very careful with that. I'm Harry, the founder of Nexas. Thank you for interest in the first audition. So this is a sheet here, and what they have at the bottom, here's the pyramid, right? This is the pyramid.
Right. This is where people's misconception was born from.
Okay. So building a new career path. We aim to forge new career paths for virtual talents. So Nexus Virtual Academy. So where they have, once again, they need to stop using the My Hero Academia imagery. This is really going to be bad for them. The Virtual Talent Academy, where it's a curriculum to learn from basic to advanced, meet friends and rivals, and compete and train with each other. And then Top Talent Production, total support for professionals. Only talents who establish fan base are entitled to join. So essentially saying in this way, this is how it sounds like a battle royale right here, right? This is where
right. And that's where people, and this is where people are, I think, getting the most misconception, because it sounds like the idea is that you're part of the Virtual Talent Academy, and once you establish yourself and build up your reputation and build up an audience, then you move to the next stage, and they kind of take the training wheels off and you're kind of allowed to do your own thing. That's what it sounds like to me.
That's what it sounds like to me too. And theoretically, it would not be a problem for them to say, okay, if you're a talent and you get to 100,000, let's just say that, right? 100K, right? Getting that plaque, right? You get to 100K. When you get to 100K subs on YouTube, you get to have a full-time manager who's only dedicated to you, not shared with anybody else. You get to produce X amount of music videos, maybe one music video a quarter or whatever, every other month. I don't know what the fuck it is, whatever, right? You get to have full access to the game library, whatever. You get to have all these perks and benefits, anything you need. You get new models at request, maybe once per every couple months, per quarter, you can request a model update. You're getting a huge support package. Whereas at the beginning, before you've gotten to 100K, you have a basics level of support, right?
Right. So maybe it's you get your initial model, and then once you make it to the next stage, right? So you're out of high school, you're in college now, right?
Right.
Maybe they'll do things like a 3D model, so you can do concerts and stuff.
Sure.
That's kind of my understanding when they talk about support. I think they're talking about like a 3.0 model, you get the new fancier model, or you get alternative costumes and things like that. That's kind of what I'm thinking they mean by support.
Right. Not this would be very interesting, but it does not seem like, even with the ESL, that the intent is to say, okay, we're going to form a clique and like certain people are going to be benefited over others because they're the cool kids and you're not the cool kids.
Right. I don't
get that
think
as the intention.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Because I think they mean rivals. And that's another thing too. It's like in Japan, the idea of a rival is different than in America. Because in America, a rival is somebody that like bullies you and treats you like crap. In Japan, it's like someone that's like pushing you from, that's like they're trying to get better while you're trying to get better, and it's more like a friendly thing.
It's the anime version of a rival. Like, for example, in this one, like Bakugo and Deku, right? And to use My Hero Academia, because we're using My Hero Academia because we're stealing IP here, but okay, sure, right? It's people who are paired up with, it's Vegeta and Goku. They push each other to become better.
Pippa and Tenma.
Pippa and Tenma, there you go. You push each other to become better. That's actually really healthy. You need somebody to do that. Actually is super healthy, and it actually is really positive, as long as that competition is a friendly competition and does not evolve into a knife fight. It doesn't go into stuff like sabotage. Stuff like people are going out there and cutting your internet cables in order to keep you from streaming, as long as it's not Pippa and Walmart level competition.
Right.
But yeah, no, as long as it's friendly, it's okay. That's actually good. And it is positive. And I think it's good to have people to peg yourself against, because it helps you push yourself. Healthy ways, not unhealthy, but healthy.
Right.
There is something to that. So let's say you have somebody who becomes popular, Vox Akuma, and that person picks their friends and uses their perks to benefit themselves, but also their chosen friends. This creates a de facto clique where you've got to kiss the ass of the person that are the top performers in order to get the benefits of the top perks of the people at the top.
Right? It needs to just purely be a meritocracy where it's like that person, but they're not allowed to like say, well, I got this, but this guy deserves this and this guy deserves this.
That's why money generally works the best, because if you're, it's just, money is simple. Money is so fucking simple. It's like, if you do well, if you get 100K, we're going to give you a bonus. You're going to get a bonus, and it's going to be whatever the bonus is, a certain amount of money.
Right.
$10,000, let's say. I'm just going to throw that number out there. Could be less, could be more, whatever. You hit 100K, we give you $10,000 US, right? You hit a million, right? And we give you 50,000, whatever it is. And they just give it to you as a paper performance bonus. They just say, yep, you hit these certain milestones, you sell X amount in merch, we give you this, right? On top of your percentage. So maybe you have a 50-50 split with merch, but if you sell $10 million in merch or whatever, $1 million in merch, we're going to give you whatever, right? We're going to cut you out.
Right. If you push, and Twitch actually does that too, with like the number of subscribers that you have, members that you have. They'll actually, like, the bigger you are, the more willing they are to make the split more in your favor. And that's kind of my understanding. That's what I would assume that they mean by the support, is that if you're one of their like top creators and you're like really pushing the envelope, that things are more in your favor.
Right. Which makes sense. And frankly, that would be presumably okay. Look, I've said this and I'll say it again. Not everybody, if you're a prospective VTuber, you may fail. And you may not, VTubing may not be the thing for you. Streaming may not be the thing for you. Maybe your type of content is a different type of content. Maybe you're not a good streamer, but you're good at making pre-recorded videos. Maybe you're better at that. Maybe
you're really good at documentaries.
Sure, like Rima, right? Like, and maybe that's your thing. Maybe the majority of your views come from your long form content. Maybe that's your thing. Maybe you're a guy who's better at support and you need to be behind the scenes. Maybe you need to be an artist, right? Maybe you need to be somebody else who's helping people manage stuff, right? Maybe you could be a manager, right? But you're not good as a talent themselves. Not everybody has the same amount of skills, and that's fine. That's normal. So to say that, like, yeah, not everybody who wants to be a VTuber is going to be successful is true, because many times you will start a job and it's okay to do something and realize that you don't like doing that. We've made it really weird in the modern era where you have to dedicate yourself to something. And if you don't like that, you're not allowed to ever change what you do ever in your whole life. That's not normal. That's not okay. You should be able to change if you feel like you're not skilled for that, or you feel like your talents are best used elsewhere.